welcome to another amazing day at fmtraining.tv, where we're here to discuss the amazing and fantastic FileMaker platform. Seriously, great to see you all. Great to see all our regulars, hopefully some new people. Welcome back, and welcome if you're new. A quick reminder, we stream 5 days a week on 3 platforms. We stream on Discord, we stream on YouTube, and we stream on Twitch. And we stream about a lot of different topics. So I'm going to bring up what next week's topics are. What up? There we go. I'm going to briefly put that over Kyle's face. Sorry, Kyle. Okay, so Thursday and Friday today are Kyle, basically. Webviewer widget integrations in FileMaker with Kyle Williams. So if you've got, I want to know how to do JSON widgets that do 50 different things, apparently. Kyle says he has 50 of them, so that's why we got 2 days. We're going to cover all of that on Thursday and Friday. It should be very fun. Monday is going to be beginning of our coaches corner, where one of our FileMaker coaches come in and cover some kind of go back to some beginner stuff. Basically past due found sets in FileMaker. For all the people out there who are still writing, according to my father, we have a customer, or we would have a customer, they refuse. They literally just go through their post-it notes and sort out who they need to call back for them to actually pay their invoices, which is not the way to really you want to do business, folks. It makes life very stressful for you, but you can de-stress with FileMaker. Save yourself time and money. No, seriously, it's great. We're going to cover how to do that on Monday. Tuesday is going to be more FMSP pre-release, build X4, so that should be fun. Nick will be back to discuss his wonderful and amazing things. People continue to find bugs. Please continue to send us bugs in the bug reports at support@rcconsulting.com. We appreciate them. We do look for them. We've got an entire channel dedicated to sorting that out, so we're working on that. Wednesday and Thursday are going to be creating recurring invoices. So Monday is invoices that are past due. Wednesday and Thursday are recurring invoices. So if this person has a subscription and they pay every year or every month, we're going to talk about that, how to install that into FMSP. Should be fun, should be great. Okay, so that's going to be our broadcast schedule. A quick reminder that if you would like to support the channel, we do this for free, but we do we do appreciate your support. We appreciate your support with our Learning FileMaker annual subscriptions. The complete learning bundle is fantastic. It's an annual subscription. You get FileMaker with it. It includes FMSP Enhanced, and also now includes our high-intensity certification training, which we just finished. It'll now be on video and recorded with all of our notes, and so you can go back and rewatch it as many times as you need to pass the certification test, but only if you have our complete Learning FileMaker bundle. So please feel free to buy that. And then we've got the Learning FileMaker video-only training bundle. If you just want certain amounts of videos, that's a lot. Overall, it's 100 plus hours of video content that covers pretty much everything. So feel free to do that. It helps us keep this channel running so we can do the free stuff an hour every day. It'll be fun. All right. Other than that, I think I was going to do the certification training spiel, but we don't need to do that anymore since it's done for the moment. A quick reminder, though, that if you want to watch the videos, we're not doing it live anymore, but the videos are coming. So we're getting all those taken care of and edited. So if you're like, I actually want to pass certification test, but I need to rewatch some stuff or watch it, feel free to buy our complete training bundle. You'll get all access to all of that wonderful, wonderful jazz. A quick reminder that you can ask questions. A big part of the reason we do these live streams is to interact with the community, to help improve the FileMaker community, to help us all share back and forth between each other and make FileMaker great. Because part of what makes FileMaker great is its developers. So please ask questions. I do watch all of the chats religiously, so whenever Kyle's like, is there any question marks? I'll be staring intently in this direction, waiting for someone to ask something. So please ask me if you're like, oh, this feels like it's stupid. I guarantee you. I know all the teachers are like, it's not a stupid question. It's really not a stupid question. I guarantee you, if you have that question, someone else has that question, we're not going to think, oh, you're a fool for asking such a thing. No, we're never going to say that, ever. So, if it's off topic, I might redirect you to support at RC Consulting, but otherwise. Okay, now that I am done with my spiel of wonder, I need to get the doc to go away. Is it Option Command D? Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm going to put you as full screen, Kyle. What are we doing?
All right, so today is the day for anybody who's ever been interested in web viewers and not really sure where to get started. So you don't know how to code yet. You're just getting started with JavaScript and you're like, where do I begin? How do I get started? So today is the day for you. So I put together a demo file. Let me share my screen here. All right. And get the stuff off the screen. There we go. Okay. So I put together this demo file, and it's going to help you out a lot when you're getting started. And if I go up here to the script workspace, I have two scripts right here at the start, and these are really, really important. So this JS result file, or script, I mean, this is something you're going to want to like copy all of this and paste it into a worksheet that's going to have all kinds of really helpful content and notes. So if I open up pages and so what I did there is I used an MBS plugin, and then I just did copy the script text, and it pastes this to the clipboard. So this gives you a nice formatted, so it's all your text nicely formatted, and probably zoom out a little bit, or in. Probably going to want to zoom in. So this is something you're going to want to start with, and this is going to help you out to be able to have this readily available. You can just copy and paste from this. So I'm just going to minimize that. So there's a lot of helpful stuff in here, and let me actually start with this right here. So if you've never done JavaScript before, there's some things you need to know. So here's just a basic HTML script. So this is kind of a template. So at the very beginning, you have this doc type HTML. This stuff needs to be there. That lets the web viewer know that you're feeding it HTML. Okay, and then the next you have the head. And inside of your head, you have these meta tags. And then you have your styles right here. The styles are your CSS. So I put a placeholder text in here, and we'll swap that out in the script. Sometimes you might even have some scripts up here that preload before the body loads. So as this is loading into the web viewer, it's kind of going top down and just reading it all, and it's converting that into the web viewer widget that we want. So below the head, we have our body, and so our body can also include scripts. So this script could be in the body, it could be below the body. This is your basic HTML structure. When you see this little symbol right here, that's your closing tag. So you'll notice the start tag doesn't have that. Your end tag has a little slash in there. So this is going to be your script. So let me back up a little bit. So your body, this is where all the text goes. This is the text of your document that you're creating in the web viewer. This isn't styled. It doesn't know what color anything is. It doesn't know what the objects look like. All of your styles are up here. So when it's building the body, it's looking at your style sheet, trying to figure out how to make everything look. How do you want everything to appear? Your animations could be in your CSS. So that's where all that happens. As far as interacting with your web viewer, that's where the script comes in. So this is your scripts behind the scenes, where all the functions are, all the formulas. This gives you all your interactivity with your HTML. So that's your basic HTML structure. And then we're gonna, so we would load that, and then we would have our body in here, our CSS in here, our JavaScript. And then right here, we have a formula that's going to put it all together. So you can see here are all the placeholders, and then we're loading our variable into those placeholders. So it's building the HTML as we go. So that comes down here, and then we're creating a new window, and then we're loading the web viewer into our HTML into the web viewer named web. I do have a helpful little formula right here, which I'm going to show you as well. So let's go ahead and start creating one. So we'll just dive right in. I'm going to go to this website right here. Just going to copy and paste that. And that brings us to this website. So we're going to create a quick little clock here, and I'm just going to show you how easy this is. So there's lots of websites out here. This is all open source. These people, they create this stuff for a living. They have a YouTube channel and they get advertisements on here. So that's how they make their money. And they provide all this stuff for training. So they're training the JavaScript community how to create all these widgets. So basically all I'm going to do here is we have our HTML. So this is our HTML. We can select this and we can see all of that HTML. So again, we have our tags up here, and then we have our head, and below the head is our body. And inside the body, you'll see a script. And then our end tags are down here to close everything out. So I'm just going to copy all of this, say copy. So close out of that, we'll go back to FileMaker, go back to our script, and right here, you can see insert text. So I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to paste that text in here. So luckily in this case, we already have the script here, so we don't even have to worry about that. But what we do need to worry about is right here, because this isn't going to style our sheet for us. It's looking for an external file called style.css. So we don't want to have to deal with that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace this. So we're just going to delete it. And I'm going to put the style tags in here. So style, and then our closing style. So now we have our CSS section. And then I'm just going to put asterisk, asterisk, CSS, and then just like that. And this will allow us to be able to swap that out very easily. Okay. So now we're going to want to do another insert text script step. And here we're going to call this CSS. And again, I could go back here and we could just copy and paste this over here. So now let's go back to our site here. And right here we have second create the CSS file. We don't have to do a file, we can just load this into a variable. So we're just going to copy, and then we'll go back here, and we'll go into our variable here, paste that in, and then I'm going to save, and we'll run this. And that did not work. Okay, hold up. Because it's missing the CSS. What did I do wrong? I'm going to try something different. So we'll just paste it right here and see if this works. HTML, web. Okay. There it is. So really cool looking. So we can put that up into the corner of our layout. So this is just a layout with a Webviewer on it. So if I go into layout mode, you can see I just have a close button and Webviewer. That's all that's here. And I made this small so that way you can make it big and make it small. And it'll resize as you resize your layout. So I'm going to close that. And then our button should work. And there we go. So a really fancy looking clock. I love the look of that. So I'm not sure why that didn't work right here. That should have worked. Because all I did is I copied and pasted this directly into the other script. So there's something going on right here. But anyhow, we'll just delete that because now we have a working clock. So you'll notice the demo file didn't have this script working. And that's because I wanted to kind of show off how to do that. So I was mentioning there's a formula right here and show you what this does here. So if I copy that and we'll go over here, we'll go into debugger and we'll get this started. And it's going to go down here. It's going to create the new window. It's going to load our HTML in here. Okay, so now if I go into the data viewer and we'll just throw that into our watch. We'll get rid of all the stuff we don't need. And now we're going to create a new formula. So what this is doing is it's taking that HTML and it's basically converting it into a formula that we can put into a set variable script step. And I'm going to show you why that's important in a minute. But basically, if I run this, you can see it keeps the format and it puts little return carriages in all the lines, and it swaps out all of the quotes with apostrophe. So everything's still here, everything works. And if I take this and I say copy, and I'll just leave the monitor on, and say, let's go ahead and stop this. And I'm just going to do variable, and we'll do HTML, paste all that in there. Now, just like that, I can stop that. We'll disable that, and now we'll do the same thing, but we're using a set variable instead. Okay, so I'm going to save, and we'll run this. And just like that, it works. So nothing broke when I switched it over. So you might look at this and be like, even if I do this, and if I have this fancy thing up in the corner of my layout, it's too big. I need to make this smaller. How do I make it smaller? So let's go ahead and close this. And this is the important thing about switching it into a variable, because in this file, I have several custom functions. So I'm just going to close out of that for a moment so I can show you the custom functions. So in here, I have these CSS functions, and we can put this into our variable formula. So right here, we have scale Webviewer. If I open it up, this is basically adding to the body of the CSS. This controls what's happening in the body of the HTML. And basically, it's using this transform to scale everything in the Webviewer and make it smaller. So I'm just going to say okay, okay. And so let's go ahead and use that in our formula here. So now that we have this all in a variable, so I could put that, basically it's adding to this body right here. So this is the body part of the CSS. We can put it, I'm just going to go ahead and put it right here. So we got to do the quote, and then we can do CSS, scale Webviewer, and let's go 50%. And then say and quote. So then we'll save that and we'll run it again. And now you can see it's much smaller. So I just scaled that all down, and now we can make this a whole lot smaller, and it'll fit a little bit tighter in the corner of our layout. So any questions yet?
Yes, we have multiple.
Sorry,
that was a bit loud. We do have multiple questions. Okay, so from David Angel, adding the CSS in same file, question mark?
Yes, so yeah, let me go back into here. So the CSS, go in here rather. Okay, so this is the CSS right here down to here. So all of this is our CSS. This controls the look and feel of everything in our widget. And yeah, so before, if I go back to the original, before it was showing this right here. So basically we're swapping this line out with our style section. So this is a separate file, but we're merging the two files into one. So just like that. Yeah, so there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to try this one more time. Maybe it'll work this time. So basically, we're inputting the other file into this file, just between these style tags. Okay, and then go over here. I'll just copy this over, and we'll paste that in and re-enable that. And then I just got rid of all my CSS by copying over it. So there's a little copy button right here. So we'll go back in here, and we'll try this one more time. Hopefully it works this time. And then we have the substitution. Oh, I see what happened. This has to be above the other one. Okay, that's what happened the first time. That's why it didn't work. So now I do it, and there it is. So we have our two files in one script. So this is our HTML file, this is our CSS file, and then we're using the substitute here to inject our CSS into our HTML. So it works just the same way as it does over here in the website. When you have two files, this is referencing the second file here. So we're just merging the two files together into one, and then we're able to make this work. So, is there another question?
Yes, there is. Can you remind us what the character limit is for insert text? Is it 10,000 characters?
Uh, so yeah, I'm trying to think here for a moment where I can demonstrate it. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. You weren't supposed to see that yet. Okay, so, in here, okay, in the custom CAPTCHA. So right here, I have this base64 image, and I'm going to show you how to get around that limit. So you'll notice right here, if I try to type anything in here, you'll see that it cannot exceed 30,000 characters. So there's your limit. I was going to say it, but I was like, it's better to just show people. So 30,000 characters is the limit. So I can't do anything with this because there's way more than 30,000 characters in here. So I also included in this file how to get around that. So we'll probably get to that part at the end. So yeah, save that. So yeah, I wanted to do a little demo of how to integrate an image into your widget. Let's see, is there another question on here?
Yes, added the CSS part in the same variable holding the HTML code? Question mark.
Yeah, so the CSS, you can do it both ways. So if I go back to the top here, so yeah, I was demonstrating here how you can put them both into one so you don't have to use a substitution. So right here is our style. So our style is right here, and it goes down. So this is our CSS file, and I'm able to put it in here, and I use that formula I showed earlier, which reformats all of this text into something that works in a variable. And then I just injected this in here to add that scalability in order to be able to make it 50%. So we can even make this smaller if I want to go 30%. I can say, okay. I can take that out. I can disable these other lines here. Okay, so now we're just using this variable, and it's going to make a much smaller clock. So yeah, I'm using the asterisks on each side in order to be able to easily identify it with the substitute function. Any other questions real quick?
Is the in the HTML is the two asterisks seen as a comment?
No. So in the let me go into here. Okay, so a comment in HTML is this right here. So a comment in HTML, it starts with this tag. So it's basically a comment within a tag. So the tag, when you hear the word tag, it starts with a less than, ends with a greater than. Everything between those symbols is a tag. So it's a tag explaining the language of the HTML. This is saying that it's an HTML content that we're going to feed it. And right here, if you start your comment with less than, exclamation dash dash, and end with dash dash greater than, everything in the middle of this is ignored. So this is his comment. So a title, this is not going to be relevant for FileMaker. This title only shows up in the web page. It's the title of your web page. So that's not really relevant for FileMaker, but it doesn't hurt anything leaving it in there. Meta tag. So again, we use the word tag when you're talking about anything between a less than and greater than symbol. In the middle of that, we have a meta tag. And this is saying the character set is UTF-8. So yeah, I think that answers all of that. Uh, is that it?
I think that we are good. So,
Okay, we've got a lot more to show, so I didn't want to get hung up on too many questions. Okay, so dynamic digital clock. This one I really liked. It was really cool. It's got light mode, dark mode, and um, so basically, if I go into layout mode, we can find it real quick. I can go on into here, and I can just select right here, and you can see I did add this little tip in there as well that you can convert it into a variable with that formula. So basically, I just went to the website. I'm surprised I didn't have the URL in here. I should have had a URL for that. Um, so it's Coding Lab, uh, and I just copied and pasted the HTML in here. Oh, here I was showing that I converted that same HTML into this using the formula. So that's what I was going to show on this step. But got ahead of myself as usual. Okay, so Coding Lab made this. And if you go to browse mode, I put a whole bunch of links here. And this is where all these are my favorite sources for open source widgets. So Coding Lab is this one, Coding Lab Web. You can go there. There's hundreds, if not more, widgets in here. All kinds of stuff in here. And that's where this digital clock came from. So if I go up here and I search for clocks, it probably gives a whole bunch. So there's that clock. So there's the URL for it. Clock, I can't even find it now. Dynamic digital clock. Okay, so sorry I missed that. There's our URL and how to find that URL for that one. Oh, I don't need to do all that. Okay, so yeah, with this site, all I did is I scrolled down here and I said, okay, I got this HTML, I got CSS, I can select copy codes, copy it, I can take it over here, and we'll just delete that. Okay, so let's start fresh. Insert text, and then here we'll give this HTML, and we'll go insert text, paste that in there, and luckily we already have the script in here, so we don't have to worry about integrating a script file. And again, we have this. We don't need to worry about this one because this has a full URL here. So this is going to reach out to the internet when you load it. You could import that into this file, but this font awesome is actually quite a big file, so I don't really recommend importing that unless you want to make it an offline app. So right here is a spot where we would swap out with our style sheet. So we'll just delete it, and we're going to go style and end style. Oh, make sure I can type properly. And it's right in the middle. We're just going to go back over here, scroll down, copy the code, and we'll go back in the FileMaker, right where we have our style tag, and paste that in and say OK. And it'll save, and then we'll load that, and there it is. So it's working. Everything is great. And again, we can convert that into a variable very easily using this formula. So just go copy, or actually we already have that in the data viewer. So in order to do that, we turn on the debugger and we kind of step into it. And then we have our insert text, and we have our formula here. Do okay, copy, cancel. Okay, and we'll stop this, close the window behind it, close that one, and close our debugger. And I'm just going to disable this, and we'll do variable HTML, and then we're just going to, of course, it doesn't want to paste it. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so our formula back again. Copy. Okay. Hopefully it lets me paste it this time. Get this out of the way. Variable. Yay, there we go. Okay. Now, like we did before, we're going to look for the body tag. If there is no body tag, I don't see a body tag in here. You know, you can put it anywhere. You can go all the way down to the bottom here, and we'll just make a space in here, and we'll put our quote here to separate the top, put the ampersand, and then CSS, scale Webviewer, and we'll say 40%, speak a little different, and end quote. And this, now we've connected the top with the bottom, and we're injecting this in the middle. So we can say okay, okay, and we'll save that. I'm going to run this. It's going to ignore this because we're overwriting it. Actually, let me just do this, just so there's no confusion. Oh, by the way, I'm using a super trim function because if you have a return carriage before this tag, it will not recognize it as HTML when you go to load the web viewer. So if there's any forgotten return carriages, the super trim is like a trim, but it gets rid of the returns at the beginning and end of the text. So I included that custom function. It's not a FileMaker function. That is a custom function designed to get rid of both the spaces and the return carriages before and after your text. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. And now we can see it's much smaller, maybe a little bit too small. We might want to modify our text size for this, and that's done in the CSS. So I've seen some other questions, it looks like. Yeah, I prefer the offline too.
Not so much questions, more
I was
just comments.
Using comment CSS for the substitute.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. Neil was suggesting just put the CSS inside of a comment, inside of an HTML comment instead of using the asterisk.
We do have one question.
You can do it either way. Either way will work.
I use 2 slashes in my HTML for comments, like is done in FileMaker. Any reason not to do that?
That won't work everywhere. So if I were to use, say, 2 slashes in my body, for example, and so if I say, don't show this text, and if I say okay, and we'll switch this back, you can see it shows up right there. So that's where you don't want to use it. If you use that, if you do that in the JavaScript, it'll be fine. It won't show up. But if you accidentally do it in the body, it's going to show up. So be very aware that if you comment that way, that's going to happen. So if I go back in here again, and I just, I'm in the wrong one, aren't I? Okay, here we go. And if I go back down to the body, and if I don't want to show this text, this should work. Don't show this text. Same spot. Reload it. And I broke something. Okay, what did I break? So we got in the body. Oh, right there. Okay, it's not letting me do the end tag. Here, let me just copy and paste this, I guess. So there we go. Hopefully it doesn't mess with that this time. There we go. So you can see there's no more text at the top. So that's the difference between the 2 different comments. The double slash works fine in JavaScript, but it will not work in the body of your HTML. So yeah, it's good to know these things. A lot of this, you learn by trial and error. A lot of this I taught myself. I also worked with Jeremy Brown to learn a lot of this stuff. He's been a great teacher for me and a great inspiration. So yeah, we can probably move on to the next one because it's 37 after. We got lots to show. Okay, so let's get into calculators. And so I'm not really going to go into integrating this so much, but you can use the scale CSS custom function to scale this down a little bit if you wanted to use this one. But this does work. I can do 3 times 3 is 9, and it works. So that does work. You can edit the CSS to make it smaller and get rid of the background. So this one's kind of fun, kind of annoying at the same time because all the stuff kind of floats up. But 8 times 9. So yeah, you can see it works. So it is a working calculator, 9 divided by 9. Yeah, so everything in here works, and it's kind of fun, but kind of annoying at the same time because it has all this going on in the middle of your calculator. Kind of wish they would have done a little more with the background, so it wasn't just right there in your face. So it's kind of an Apple style calculator, very similar to this calculator. This, I believe, is an older version. So basically, it works the same. I can do 9 times 9, 81%. So yeah, 81% of 9. So pretty handy to have if you just want to throw a little Webviewer widget. You can put that in there. And again, I might recommend making that a little bit smaller. So if we go to calculator, Apple calculator, again, we have that custom function. So if I go to debugger and I say play, and we go down here, and then we say data viewer, and again, we have this fancy, very helpful formula that I came up with. And I can do copy, okay. And then we're going to stop this for a moment just so we can demonstrate this one more time, just how useful it is to be able to use the custom functions. Okay, so body, cascading style sheet, you can have more than one body tag, and it'll just kind of roll it together. So let me go get that out of the way. Okay, so variable, HTML, and we'll paste that in. And again, by the way, all of this is part of CodePen. You don't need any of that. it's a lot of clutter. There's some other stuff they all always put in down below here too. That, oh, apparently there's a whole bunch of return carriages. I'm not sure what that's about. Okay. So yeah, and then this is kind of another one of those scripts that can probably go away. Okay, so back to modifying the body, so we can put in our custom formula and CSS, scale Webviewer, 50%, and just like so. Okay, hopefully this works. I deleted a bunch of clutter in there. There it is, so it still works. Everything still works. So yay. And that allows you to make a little bit smaller Webviewer widget. You can customize the size to fit this content, scale it to whatever size you want. Everything still works. Any questions on that? Is the keyboard mapped to the calculator? Not yet. It's a very simple widget. So this is where I got it. If I do copy and I go into this web browser here, paste that in. So you'll see I got it from CodePen. And so what's really cool here is I don't have to copy and paste each of these individual sections up here. All I need to do is right click, go down to view frame source, not page source, because that's going to have all the stuff up above. You go to frame source, you take this, notice there's a return carriage up here. So that's why I put that super frame in there. So just you copy all this over, and if I go back in my calculator here, Apple calculator, and again, it's very repetitive, insert text, and you go into here and you paste this stuff in. So this explains all those return carriages. That's very weird. So I don't need any of that. Oh, undo. Oh, I deleted one of the. I deleted something up there that I wasn't supposed to. Anyhow, sometimes you gotta clean this stuff up because it throws a lot of extra stuff in there you don't need. All of this is code pin stuff. You don't need it. So you can delete that. You do need to keep this in there. So unless you want to take it offline, this has that URL. It's going to pull in some stuff from Google's API to add an extra font. So this, if you wanted to add an external font that's not in FileMaker's browser, you can add that just by putting this link in there, and it'll add that CSS to your file. And again, here's our body, and we can put our custom function in there, and so on. So that's how that works. That's how I was able to build that. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. And all right. So moving on. Next we have this. So right now, press any key. So F, B, S, A. So it tells you the code that you used. So the enter key, it's 13. It will give you an error if you use backspace because it's like, oh, you're trying to type. But this tells you backspace is code 8. So this can be kind of helpful. It's kind of just a fun little widget that I found. This one's really, really cool. I like this one. So pass. And I don't know if you can hear it, but we can actually play the word. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it played it in my ears. And then it tells you the meaning of it. It'll often give you synonyms of source. If you scroll down, it shows you an example. You can select the other ones on here. If you don't know how to pronounce it, you can select this and it'll tell you how to pronounce it in your ears. So yeah, that's really kind of a cool widget. You can clear it, you can enter something else in there. So this could be a very cool little widget. You just have a button on your layout to look up words you don't know the meaning of, and then you can have it automatically enter it as it loads. If you have text selected, you can script that to use selected text and then tell you what the meaning is, and you can see the source and hear the words in your ears if you want to play the word. So I really like this. I thought that would be really cool to integrate into FileMaker. So you don't really need to use any scripts or to paste stuff back into FileMaker unless you wanted to. So didn't really want to spend too much time on that. We're going to learn a lot about integration, like with this one right here. There's some integration with this. So I actually added this save button. So there was no save button in the demo. So it just had to remove all. And then you just type tags, and you hit the enter key and tags. If you enter the same thing again, it's not going to add it. So I'd hit enter and it disappeared. So tags 2. So it only adds unique tags. So that's pretty helpful. And then there's a save button I added. And then right here, it's using the JS result script, this JS result. All of these call the JS result so that you can see what the result is it's feeding you. And you can see tags and tags 2. So what I typed in there. And we can change that into JSON really easily. So we'll get into that next. What are some gotchas with web viewers? Stu is asking. I seem to recall there are issues, workarounds with flashing. Oh, yeah. So flashing with web viewers. There is an issue. FileMaker 19 solves that issue because you don't have to reload all the HTML into the web viewer every time you want to update anything. With FileMaker 19, you don't have to reload the web viewer at all. So that's where the flash came from. With FileMaker 16, 17, 18, that was a huge issue. So yeah, FileMaker 19 functions allowed us to be able to directly interact, to be able to directly load stuff in and pull stuff out of the web viewer without having to reload and refresh. So let's get into how you can convert this response into JSON, because obviously this isn't very useful. So I'm going to close that for a moment. We'll get into add tags. tag, add tags input box. Okay, so there's the code where I got it. I did have to do some modifications to this. I added the button in there. So the parts where I added that weren't in the original is right here. We have buttons, detail hover. See, I added this save button right here. So that wasn't in there. I had to add that. So we got the remove all button and my new button. I put an on click event. So on click calls a function down here. And this is the function it calls. And then I can add script parameters. So if I want to do this is a common parameter which pulls in this object. So that's a FileMaker function, or not FileMaker, JavaScript function. So you can use this, and then down below you can say this.id. So I can give this an ID, ID equals, and then btn. You can do something like that to give it an ID, and then you can get the results of this button using the ID, or you can just say this.id to get it the value of whatever object's up there. But for this, we're just going to leave that empty. I'll leave the ID in there. That's not hurting anything. So this is our default tags. So if we wanted to make different tags, we can modify that. See what else. So add tag. Right here is the function that I added. So message equals, and then you can remember from that earlier, it said saving selection, and then it gave us our tags. So we want to modify our tags value and turn that into JSON, and then return JSON right here into our JS result script. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of that for a moment, and we'll go to our JS result. And right here, you can see how to create an object in JavaScript. This gives you the template you need. Right here, you can create an array. So right here gives you an array, and then all of this is creating an object. And then at the end, we're putting this object that we just created, we're pushing this object into this JSON. I should have titled this JSON array, and I should have titled this JSON object. Apologize for that. That would have made it a little bit more clear that all of this right here is creating the object, and then it's pushing it into the array we created at the start. So for this, what we're about to do, we need this. So I'm going to copy that. We'll save that. So we're going to go into here, scroll down to our JSON, to our JavaScript, and in the middle here, I'm just going to paste this in here to make this easy. So we want to create our var. So I'll get in. There's 3 different kinds of variables you can create in JavaScript. We'll get into that in just a moment. So right here we're using var message. We don't want a message. What we want is our tags. Okay, so tags. So we want tags. So we're creating our JSON object right here, and then we're pushing these values into our JSON object, essentially. We're modifying our JSON, giving it .tags, and then we want this value. So our value is going to be tags. And then we don't really need this. But as you can see, you can put in your own values just like that. This can be whatever you feed into your Webviewer. Or if you want to just add some text into your JSON response, you can do that manually right there. So we just want that, which is going to create our JSON. This is by far the easiest way I've seen to create JSON. I tried so many other ways. You can try to concatenate all the text with little plus signs in the middle. This is so annoying. It's so hard to do. This is a much simpler way. And so you can see here, only JavaScript recognizes this JSON we're creating. This isn't a string yet. We have to convert it to a string. To convert it to a string, we're using JSON stringify. And then we're feeding it the a JavaScript JSON object in a way that FileMaker can recognize this as JSON. So we're converting it into FileMaker readable JSON right here. I think we can now get rid of this. And this is going to feed our array into FileMaker. Okay, so save. Let's run it again. And we'll say, I can do spaces. New tag, just like that. And then save. And just like that, you can see we have our array. So in FileMaker, we can take this array, we can break it apart, we can script with it, we can do whatever we want with that. Just again to show you with the debugger on. Debugger, save. And you see this is our JS result file with all of our notes in here. I put one script step in here. So this is doing all the work. If it's not valid JSON, it's just going to return the response. So it does test if it's valid JSON here. If it is valid, it's going to format it. Otherwise, it's just going to feed you whatever it's given. So that's how that works. And so after that, you can see what the result is. You can see it in your data viewer if you have the data viewer going, and you can use JSON get element and pull that all apart. And that's it. So really cool. It's not a beginners anymore. Yeah, we are starting to get a little bit more advanced. This is all about, how do you start with web viewers? Where do you begin? Where do you go from here? So this is getting a little more advanced. You can create draggable elements. I'm not going to go into all the advanced JavaScript going on with this, but really cool that you can see how to do that. Registration sign-up form. So a really basic form. If I don't enter anything, okay, it was supposed to say, it's because I have the script popping up. But basically these are required fields and it would give you a little tooltip. But because it's running the script, it interferes with what's going on in the web viewer. But basically you can say Kyle, my email, password. So you can put error codes in the JavaScript that'll pop up an error saying these don't match. So you can see I made it so they don't match. You can see all the values. And then you can put that into your script. The accept terms, that's the checkbox. So there is a checkbox here. If I select that again, you can see that false became true. So you could ask, how do you do that? So, registration sign-up form. Registration sign-up form. Okay, so whenever you're working with checkboxes, you have to use checked. If you're using, so radio buttons and checkboxes, to get the value of them, you have to use .checked. Any other input element, you can get by .value. So you can see here we're getting the element by its ID. And so ID name, if we go up here to the top, you can see ID name. So what this is doing, it's setting the variable name with this document's value element. So each of these has a number of different elements to this. You can get value, you can get ID, you can get placeholder, you can get a lot of things with this .value. So this is getting the .value of whatever the user inputted. And with checkboxes, so we have our checkbox here, I accept terms, condition. So the input type is a checkbox. I put ID CBX for checkbox. And you can see this has a different way of getting the value. And right here, I'm passing all this into it. So again, this is by far the simplest way to create JSON. This is why I put that in the JS result script so that you have a template. And then this part calls FileMaker scripts. So you can name this whatever your script is. And then it's passing the JSON into FileMaker. So just double check and make sure I'm not missing any questions. Calling save function, passing this value. Yeah, so I think that was in a previous widget.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically it's so here on click submit. So here I can put this and then input submit. So get element submit. It's copy. So basically I would do submit and on click. Instead of doing all of this, I could just do this dot value, which should return register now. Okay, so let me just add this in here. So we can say copy paste and say submit, and then here submit, because that's what I have right here. I'm declaring this variable submit using this dot value to try to get this value from this element without having to use document.getElementById. Okay, so because we're calling it, I also have to add the parameter here. So this, I'm not sure if I can use this there. So let's say element, LE. In that case, I got to change this to LE. So where we're passing this data from that object into here through a parameter, so the function parameter, and then down here we're getting that element that we passed through the parameter, and then we're asking for the value, loading it into the submit variable, passing the submit variable into the JSON with the address dot submit. So be interesting to see if this works. All right, so we'll start that, and we'll just give it some values. Register now, submit, register now. There it is. So make that bigger. You can see the full JSON object, and it passed that value. So I think that answers that question. What is the impact in terms of resources? So what's wonderful about the impact of resources? So this is using the web browser. So this isn't using FileMaker to calculate all this. It's in a Webviewer. It's using the web browser, the default web browser within your operating system. So it's basically utilizing different processing power than FileMaker does. So you can run both of them simultaneously and they won't interfere with each other. It's two different processes. So basically it's making better use of your multi-processor CPU in your computer. It's operating on different threads. So it doesn't slow down FileMaker at all. Everything's actually quite a bit faster in the browser. Really complex layouts, I've rebuilt them, and they work so much better in HTML. I could probably, maybe tomorrow I'll show you a layout I did in one of my production files. It'd take me too long to get into, and I don't want to show you anything I'm not supposed to. So again, it's just another widget like the last widget, and then pass. So yeah, I hard-coded this message into the JSON, and then you can see the password, the name. I did not add the checkbox, but we could add the checkbox. So let's see, what is this one called? I gotta close that user login screen. All right, so down here you can see I added this in. So anywhere where you see the alert here, that means it's performing some action, and you can override this alert with a FileMaker script. So instead of having the alert say it's missing, you can say FileMaker pass this value, let the user know that username is missing, password's missing. And then we have our alerts here as well. So basically I was playing around with this, making sure that the alert worked when it was supposed to. and that it was passing the information when I wanted it to. And you can see here I hard-coded this text into the JSON, and if you needed to, that's how you can do that. And then again, it's just passing it in to the script as a parameter so that we can see the result. So if I disable this, and yes, you can just comment stuff out in JavaScript that way, not in the body. So save. And if I say login, now it's saying fill out this field. Well, and again, it sees that that's filled, and now it's saying fill out this field down here because it's also required. And then if I hit it again, it's going to tell me what the data is because I didn't make this checkbox required. It's just going to pass it through. So if I go back into here, scroll down to where all this is. I forgot to show you the alert, how that looks different. So if the username's missing, it's going to do this alert. Otherwise, it's going to pass it into FileMaker. Okay, so save and close that. Okay, so now that we're back in here, if I say login, this is what the alert looks like. So that way it's not passing it into FileMaker, it's just showing it here as a JavaScript alert message. So Kyle, login now. You can see now it's in FileMaker. So it's passing it the parameter into FileMaker and giving me the message that I need. So now I can say pass, and I'll hit it again, and now it's going to the final. So it's going if, else if, and then end if, basically. Similar to how you do it in FileMaker. So if I scroll back down, in FileMaker we have the if step, we have the else if step, or else. So all of these are similar to a script step in FileMaker, works the same. So yeah, I'm trying to read through any questions here.
One from Stu, which is a three-part question. Of the web viewers you use in your solutions, what percentage of them are interactive versus static, used solely for UI, or use JS to process data rather than FM?
So yeah, that depends what kind of widget you're making. So if I'm just, let me save all. Okay. So something like this, I would actually, it would be its own layout to be able to welcome somebody into an application. So something like this, on the other hand, this I would modify, I would make smaller. Again, that's not something I would really script into my database at all. Again, even with the clocks, we can make this smaller, we can put it in the corner of the layout, and then we can forget about it, and it'll just work in our layout. So things, well, that's a bad example. Yeah, dictionary app, again, that could be just a widget that pops up in its own layout. So this is something I would probably want to script into my database to be able to pass the parameter back to FileMaker to be able to get input from the user. So FileMaker does not have a tag object, so you can't do this directly in FileMaker. So using the Webviewer, it enables this ability. So we can select the X button, we can close out, we can add new tags, new tag, hit enter. So this gives us capabilities that are not native to FileMaker, and then we can have the save button, passes the data back to FileMaker, and now we can script it into our FileMaker, close this widget, and continue on with our script using that. So you have a couple different ways of using these. What percentage? So most of them will be like this tag input box. It's, I'm asking the user for information. I want to get a response. I want to be able to save that response and use that data in FileMaker. So I'd probably say 75% is user interaction to get information. Maybe 10-15% is just stuff that I'd put up in the corner. And then we also have stuff like this that has interactivity, but we don't really need to bring it into FileMaker because it's not really something we need to have in our scripts. It's more or less just a widget that's helpful for the user. If they don't want to have their calculator down here, you want to be able to have a widget and they can use it and they don't have to go to their find their calculator app somewhere in their operating system and pull it out. They have it right here in FileMaker. So that could be very useful. I think that answers that. Oh, how can you paste over to 30,000 characters? Okay, so we are kind of running out of time, so we'll get back to some of these later. So here I was going to show how, this will be the last one, and then we'll close for today. Okay, so CAPTCHA in JavaScript, this is using the image in the background. So if I inspect, so we have here the image, it's base64. It's not going to feed me all of it right here, thankfully, because that goes on forever. So how do you get this base64 image into our script? We go to our source. This will probably have all the base64 image. So we're using an image tag. So again, less than, that's our start of our tag. And then our tag, and then our source equals. And what is our source? It's a data, it's an image, probably a PNG, but it's in base64 format. So PNG could be SVG, it could be whatever our image is. And then we're base64ing it to be able to pass it in here. Okay, so we go CAPTCHA, that I have it up here? Probably, but it's custom CAPTCHA. Okay, so here we, what I did is I downloaded all of this from his website, and I added this right here, image. So this is what we saw before, but we have the substitution right here. So this is our base64 image. And then I also substituted out the JavaScript right here because he had some JavaScript tag down here to another file. So I just swapped it out with script and script with our placeholder in the middle. And also the CSS up here to control the styling. So again, there's our styling, our JavaScript, and our image. So how did I get this? This is our big question. How do we get our base64 image in here? Because if we go down here, we say insert text, and then we're like, let's see, base64, not 645, or, okay, so base64 image. So how do we do this? I'm just going to copy this for a moment. And I added an extra tool in here, and this is insert script text creator. And we're going to paste this in here. Okay, and then let's go into the script again. We got to go to his website, copy, and then we go to the website. We say paste, enter this in here, and then so you can see here's the original. But this, just using the code won't be everything, and he doesn't have the image right here readily available. Unfortunately, we do have to wait a few seconds to download that. I should have had that file readily available. So this is kind of annoying. Sometimes you have to wait for the good stuff. So it's basically going to download a zip file, and in that zip file, there's going to be an image. Let me do this off screen here for a moment. Downloads. It's probably going to give it to me before I even find it. Okay, there's zip file. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it. I thought I had it readily available. Okay, so there, it's downloading. Now, here's what it gave me. Okay, so we have the PNG, and then we have our 3 scripts. So if I open up the PNG, we can see what that looks like. So that gives us our background. Okay, so how do we get this into FileMaker? We're just going to drag and drop it. So now it's in a container field. Here's all my base64. I'm going to select all of it. See if it'll let me scroll down. So copy. I'm going to paste this in here. Okay, so this has all of that text right here for our base64, and this is our variable name. I also made it so that you could make it a global if you wanted to make it local. If you don't do a $, it's going to create a local variable. So create script step, and now we have our XML. So this creates a script step with XML. It provides us our variable name and all of our text here, all the way down to the bottom. We're just going to click copy to clipboard, and then we're going to go back to our script workspace, and I'm going to paste this in. So that's it. Now, if I delete this, I delete the original, and I'm going to save it now that we have our new image that I just created, and now it works. So another side caveat right here, this text was selectable. I was able to just copy it. I was able to select it, copy it, and I was able to paste it in here. I was like, that's not very good. So I disabled the selection of the text. And how did I do that? I used a custom function. So in here, we have our CSS. So in our CSS, so I see what I did, because I didn't convert it into a variable. Basically what I did is I put it in a data viewer, then I copied the result from the data viewer into here. But that's it right there. That's what the custom function creates, and it puts it into your CSS. And this first part, this makes it so the body of your web viewer is not selectable. Right here is a tag that we're actually using, disable select tag. And this disables the div element. So down here in your body, there's going to be, in your body, there's div tags. And what this is, it's dividing different elements, and you can have several different div elements on your layout. So it's basically one object within your layout. And inside of your object, you can have the span with captcha. Right here's the image within our div element, and we have captcha image. So our class, disable select, there it is. So what I did is I put the class tag into the wrapper. So there's wrapper tag and disable select tag, which we created with a custom function. And then we just added to the class for the div. So this div ends way down below here. I think this is all one object. And then there's objects within the object. So different divs within the div, so to speak. So this goes all the way down here, I just noticed. So by putting it up here into this first div, everything within this div is now not selectable. So that way I was able to make it so that you couldn't select the text that I was putting inside of this captcha span here. So this is where the text gets inputted by the JavaScript. I'm not going to go into all of that. It just randomizes the text and numbers and just creates a random stuff. So save. And so now if I play it, here we go. We got the refresh button, which changes this text, and it's not selectable. And then I can enter this. I can say 6ECE4L, check. And it says, nice, you're not a robot. So, and it also showed it on the web viewer itself. If I just type in random stuff, it's going to say it's not matched. Please try again. So that's how that works. Any further questions on that?
I think we might be good. So.
All right. Yep. It's time out. So,
thank you very much, Kyle. We will see you tomorrow to continue this.
Yeah. So we got. I added the beep configurator from earlier this week, so that's got a little UI. So that's really cool. And we can play around with the rest of this tomorrow. So
yes.
I think we ended with the registration form.
Yep.
All of this right here we can cover tomorrow, and along with this, we'll see how far we can get into it.
Yeah,
it did take us a while to get started today because we had to go over all the basics, make sure everybody understood the basics.
Yep. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. All right. Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you everyone for coming in. We will see you tomorrow.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!